What's good, guys? Welcome to my garage and another video. This one is going to be suspension install on the 997 chassis. As we can see here, we are looking at my buddy Ali's 997 turbo. Same spec as my car, 997.1, sitting on BBS E88s. But today we will be doing the suspension install. It's going to be getting some much needed love in the suspension department with some road and track coilovers by OHLIN. We'll be installing these on the car. It's not going to be a super technical, in-depth video where I go through every single little nut and bolt and tell you what to torque, tell you do this, do that, do that. No, it's just going to be, I'm going to film, we're going to chill in the garage while we work on the car and just talk about it. You'll be able to gather from the footage that I'm going to shoot of what needs to be done to do this job. So you'll be able to kind of like formulate your own method and own way of doing it if you're thinking about tackling a job like this. It's definitely something that can be done on the ground. You don't need a lift like what I got here. It could be done in jack stands. Keep in mind that if you are thinking about doing a project like this, we are diving into suspension components, and suspension components are considered a safety related item. So if you're unsure about your skills, if you're unsure about something, you always want to consult with a certified mechanic before you do anything, or just have them do it for you. But anyway, we're just gonna dive right into it, and we're gonna start working on the car, start wrenching, what I love doing best. And we're gonna start in the rear and finish up in the front. So let's just get into it. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm getting the rear stabilizer bar out of the car. I just want to remind everybody that there's a million different ways to skin a cat, and when it comes to working on cars, it's kind of the same. This is just the way that I've done it, so there's no right or wrong way, as long as you get the job done in the end. Having power tools does make this job go a little bit faster. It could also all be done with hand tools. All right, so the next step, I'm gonna be getting this toe link out. I'm gonna mark here where the eccentric cam bolts are in relation to the subframe. All right. Oh, that was the wrong one, boys. This one, toe. All right. All right, I'm actually going to try to worm this thing out without undoing any of these links. I'm pretty sure I don't want to have to touch that. Actually, the toe link is going to have to come out because this bolt is going to hit it. See that? Oh, Porsche. All right, let's get the toe links out. Piece of shit. All right, so this is probably the most important tool of the entire job. If you don't have one of these yet, I highly recommend that you get one. It's called a ball joint popper. I'm going to be using it a lot in the front, but it makes popping ball joints a breeze. Instead of hitting it with a hammer and damaging your arms or your knuckles. Boom. Ball joint Lucy. God damn it. This is what I hate about working on Porsches when I'm used to working on Hondas. They use all these stupid ass sizes. Who uses an 18mm socket? It's like the sizes are so off. 16, 18, 15, 13. It's all random. All right. Yeah, it should work. All right, so we're inside the car now, by the way. YouTube content's YouTube content, so. Oh, don't you go dying on me. That M12 battery is kicking still. Alright. Ollie was gracious enough to take out the front passenger seat for me. Thanks, buddy. Alright, so as we can see, the upper shock mount is now loose from the body. I'm going to try to I've never done it this way before. I've always taken this arm off here, but I'm going to try to push it and see if it'll just clear. I definitely know that the new OHLIN's coilover, since it's got such a low profile, will clear, but we'll test this out. Let's see. Might have found a new way to do things. Uh-oh. Ta-da! Okay, so here's the right rear shock absorber coil assembly. Removed from the car. I was able to just kind of worm it out, as you guys saw, and it fell on my floor and ruined it. God damn it. So OHLIN's, what they want you to do is they want you to set the preload of the spring before you install in the car. And the way they set the preload is by measuring from this point right here down to this point right here. It should be 195 millimeters. So the way you adjust that is by adjusting the spring perch right here. I'm just gonna get that done real quick. So obviously as you turn this, it becomes tighter and compresses the spring to where it needs to be to stay. It wants you to set this distance from here to here. It says 61 millimeters, but I measured it on my car yesterday and I measured from here to here and it was 2 inches. So we could turn this in and it should be the same as my car if we just set it up that way. But basically now there's tension on the spring and we should just be able to slip this in place and be Gucci. Alright, so just to make sure, 195 millimeters and 2 inches. Alright, so yeah, we're going to be putting this in the car. You have to reuse the factory upper shock mounts, but I told Ollie just buy some better ones. These are Terra Engineering ones that I wish I had on my car, but I don't because I was too lazy to order them and wait. Anyway, yeah, so let's just get this put in. Alright, check this out. This is how I have it rigged so it doesn't keep falling down. I have a pry bar stuck in between the lower knuckle and the shock absorber fork. Alright, here comes Sketch City. I gotta crawl in the car. And start them loose just so they hang. I'll probably tighten this up when we have the car on the ground. Don't worry about that click clacky noise that you're hearing from my lift. It's totally normal. It's not gonna fall off. I'll get some comments on it. Alright. Here's where I might break my face. Oh my god. Alright. So I'm not going to film doing the other side because it's the same thing. I'm just going to film the right rear and the right front of what needs to be done. Alright, so now we're going to use the floor jack to bring the knuckle upward, which will allow us to bolt in the thingy. The technical term is the thingy. Ooh, motherfucker. Okay. So OHLIN it gives you new hardware. Seen here, and this is a low profile nut that replaces the old one, or the original one. I guess because the clearance. Boom. All right. Whew. All right, so what you want to do is you want to preload everything and then tighten. You don't want to tighten it while it's all hanging and loose. But yeah, that's basically the rundown of how to install the rear on the 997 chassis. Coilovers, both removal and installation, done. Okay, so one thing that I forgot to mention on the install is that when you install the rear OHLIN's coilovers, you got to do it in a certain way and make sure that it only goes one way. So the OHLIN's logo has to be pointing back, like, so everybody knows behind you that you're running OHLIN's. If this is not pointing back, then the whole coilover won't work and the car is gonna crash. All right, so now I'm just putting the rear stabilizer bar back in place, and the rear will be done. Upper shock mounts are bolted up and tight, and so are the lower ones. Lame. So lame. What the fuck, dude? Oh my god! Yes, I'm using a tool on a tool because a tool won't fit. Okay, y'all, we have the rear suspension installed on the 997. As you can see, the rear coilover is all installed and tightened and buttoned up and tidy. I chose to start with the rear first because I knew that this would be the easier of the two when compared to the front. The front is going to be where the bulk of the work is at. That's going to be a little bit more involved when compared to the rear. The rear was kind of like a breeze. I knew it would be that way, but I like to concentrate on the harder part towards the end of the job. So we're just going to dive right into that. So let's do it. I don't know, I'm still not sold on the whole wheel stud conversion thing. I kind of prefer the bolts because then this type of stuff happens. I don't know, I understand the whole idea of being able to hang your wheels. To me, having the wheel bolts is just more secure. But to each their own, I suppose. Alright, so in the front, I start by undoing the caliper because I'm going to do it a little different than what's commonly found on the web. But like I said, there's multiple different ways to skin a cat, so this is just the way that I do it. There's no right or wrong way, it's just I find this way to be easiest for me. So over here there are a couple of connectors that you got to get loose. So all right. There are two 10mm bolts. I said this wasn't going to be an instructional video, and here I am giving instructions. So there's a bolt here and a nut here. Let me hang this caliper. Stabilizer linkage comes off. Alright, so here's what we're looking at so far. We have to break this tie rod ball joint loose, and then the lower ball joint loose from the knuckle, and then the axle nut comes off, and then we're going to swing this out completely as an assembly, and then unbolt the 3 nuts at the top of the shock tower, and this whole thing is going to be able to come off. I've just seen other ways of doing it on the web that I'm just like, Whoa, dude, that's kind of sketch. But let me set the camera down and then we'll be working on this side of the car. Wrong way. Axle nut comes off. Those get replaced, by the way. So now this whole thing kind of just, and then, boom. So what I was talking about before is I've seen people, I mean, I'm sure it works, but to me it's just way too sketchy. People leave the knuckle on the ball joint, but they'll undo that, and then they'll pry down with a big ass pry bar this entire assembly, and then they'll slide the strut out of the, I don't know, it's just sketch, because what happens is like the entire strut assembly is going this way, you risk damaging your fenders. I don't know, I'd just rather do it this way, and honestly, like, it's good practice to do it this way because these cars are known for CV boots tearing, and you have to do this to replace the CV boots in the front. All right, y'all, these are the 3 nuts I was talking about, 1, 2, 3. Obviously, you gotta unplug the PASM connector. We'll talk about coating out PASM later after everything's installed. All right, there she is, see? All one piece. Now we're free to install the coilover onto the knuckle without fear of messing up any fenders. Boom, boom, boom. Pinch bolt holds it in. Repeat on the other side. I have to take off this cup right here and transfer it over onto the coilovers. That's the part that you have to reuse. You got to reuse the angular bearing, the insulator right here, and then the cup. We have everything except for the metal cup. So I got to compress the spring, undo that, and then transfer it over. What's good, guys? Welcome back. It's day 2 of the suspension install on OHLIN's 997 Turbo. As we see here, I had to take the factory shock absorber assembly over to the shop so I could use the spring compressor and transfer some parts over to the coilovers as completely assembled. Everything's tightened down. I'm going to drop a little montage of the assembly of the front shock absorbers just so everybody gets a better idea of what's involved and what parts to reuse and what parts you should buy new. Same goes for the rear. Alright, so the way that this gets installed onto the knuckle is there's a sleeve that goes to the bottom of the coil like that, and then this then gets slipped in to the knuckle like so. And this is actually how you set ride height on these OHLINs in there. And I took a measurement off of my car. This sleeve comes up to about that. So my front end is probably about, that's what I have on mine. These are the same exact coilovers, so adjusting it the same fashion should yield the same results. But if anything, we could always readjust it later. So that locks it in place like that. So now we'll slip this in here. Pinch bolt and nut get fastened on. I really like the quality of these. These are, I mean, you could tell it's a quality product. by just putting it together and like having your hands on it and feeling how everything goes together and how smooth everything is. And you really feel it when you drive the car. But all right, so now all that's left is, now that this is an assembly, is just to bolt it up in the car. All right, guys, what are the bets? Bullish or bearish on this? What are we thinking? I'm loading the boat at 90. All right, so this gets installed or reinstalled in the reverse of removal. Okay. All right. All right, so now it's home. And we're gonna use the floor jack to jack this up. All right, so other recommended mods with this is adjustable sway bar links and bump steer kit, so new tie rods. Because as you can see, it changes the geometry of everything when you lower the car. So if you want like the best performance, obviously you're gonna want to do those mods so that you can get the full potential out of these coilovers. But yeah, when you change the geometry of the suspension, then everything gets thrown out of whack. And obviously it's best to have the same geometry that Porsche designed. But when you go changing things, then you gotta go change a bunch of other stuff. I haven't done that stuff on my car because it's a street car. I'm not a track rat. And honestly, it feels okay for just having a set of coilovers installed. But I'm sure it could feel a lot better if I were to just commit and do lower arms, bump steer kit. I'd like to do the GT2 sway bar, adjustable drop links, everything. And it would be cool to like widen the track in the front. Maybe run a 10-inch wide wheel, like a fatter tire. But then you get into the messing with the ratios of the all-wheel drive system, you might mess up your diff. So it's never ending, never ending. All right. Woo! That's not good. All right, so that's how you adjust. All right, that's how you adjust ride height. And then you tighten the pinch bolt to set it. I'm just gonna put everything back the way it was. Everything's reverse of removal, so obviously you guys have probably done brake jobs before, gotten this deep, and it's just putting everything back in the same reverse order as removal. We'll be checking back in when everything's back together and the vehicle's back on the ground. My buddy is coming over a little bit later to do some coating on the PASM, because obviously with these, the PASM is now unplugged. Let's check in when the car's back on the ground and see how she sits. All right, so lift arms can still swing out, so it's not super slammed. Overall, looking pretty good. It will settle over time. This car is so sick. With the GT2 bodywork, GT2 bits. It's even got the rear GT2 bumper. It's badass. Looks even better now with the coilovers installed. All right, let's get it out in the sun, go for a quick road test. Okay guys, so I just took it around the block. Here's how she's looking. It's GT2 bodywork, man, I'm telling you. Looks so sick. Anyway, keep in mind, we still need to do a four-wheel alignment and dial everything in. Ideally, you'd want to get it like corner balanced, corner weighted and balanced to make everything as optimal as possible. But then again, don't forget, I mentioned about having to change out all those other arms and toe links and all that to get all the geometry back in spec. It's a long process when you get involved with suspension mods. Luckily for me and us and most of the people who's going to use these coilovers, we're going to use them on the street. So, you know, unless you're actually trying to extract every last bit of performance out of a set of coilovers, when all you really want is just a, you know, a nice drop and a ride improvement, you know, it is what it is. But, and my car. Set it up pretty much the same. It's just mine has already been aligned, and mine has also settled for like 2 years. Alright y'all, so we have the battery tender hooked up, and my good friend Yuri has come over. He's a wizard of coding, and we are going to code out PASM.
What's he using as a tuner?
Cobb.
Cobb. Just like everyone else.
It's the easiest.
Yeah.
It's E85 though.
Oh, nice.
Okay, could you also turn off the airbag light for this guy?
If there is no seat, it might be pretty hard to do it.
Alright.
I'll try. I'll see what we can do. Remember the last time we had the issue with the doors?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a pain.
Yes.
Alright, so should I probably unplug the PASM module? Right?
Yeah.
Alright. Oh, because there's
two.
Yeah. Okay.
In the gateway, no communication fault. So let's see what we got now. That's good.
I don't think his clutch switch is on, so if we put it in neutral, you could start it without having to step on the clutch if you need to.
We'll see what it does real quick. So here's the good thing. PASM is grayed out, so that means that it does not recognize a control unit.
Okay.
So we should make sure everything else is working how it should be.
So wide open throttle pulls, and then a money shift to make
Always.
sure. Okay.
Always. Right. Money shift is for job security.
Yeah. All right, y'all, I'm just gonna go for a quick shakedown on the car real quick to make sure everything's good. All right, so the reason why you want to code out PASM the way we did is because if you don't, you'll get a PASM fault, and that'll actually put the system into limp mode. And when it's in limp mode, especially with PTM and PASM, with those two coding, then it's not going to allow you to go into sport mode. And so that's kind of like the whole point of this car is sport mode. I always ride around in sport mode so I can have max power and take people to Gapplebee's. But as we see here, sport mode is active and activating. I'm gonna go for a quick shakedown in the car. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to film while I drive because one, that's dangerous, and two, I don't have the view that you guys are used to seeing like this with that thing suction cupped to the window. But we'll just be checking in when I get to wherever I'm going, just to make sure everything's good. All right, y'all, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and just leave a comment in the section below. But as you see, my car's on the lift. We're already on to the next miniature project where I'll be getting this thing prepped and ready to go to a car event that we have planned here in Maryland for next month. But yeah, as I promised, I'm gonna be dropping that montage of the suspension assembly in the outro. But that'll wrap it up for today. And until the next video, peace. Lame. So lame.